Hello everybody, happy Tuesday. Welcome to another episode of My Chronic Migraine Life. So we're going to get right into it. Today I want to talk about the elephant in the room, the global pandemic that we are all trying to endure emotionally and physically and mentally, most importantly. I am based out of New York City, so we are on pause, as our Governor Cuomo, sexy and smart, very popular now, Governor Cuomo, has phrased it, till May 15th, I think is the current estimation of when the world, here at least, will start to look normal. But for me, I've been on pause more than once in my life, and I feel like that has really prepared me emotionally for the journey that we are on now, in some ways anyway. So New York officially went on pause around March 19th or so, and I was already living at pause, mostly. The last 2 months I have been having eye surgeries, so I was recovering, gearing up for them, recovering from them, and so I wasn't really doing too much. If you want more details about the eye surgery, check out the last couple of videos. So also because my sight was, of course, impacted as the reason I needed the surgery, and then, as you recover from eye surgery, my vision was alternating. So I really wasn't doing much. I had my second eye surgery, my last, God willing, eye surgery, March 10th. And so it's about 7 to 10 days you can't do anything too physical. So I was really laying low. I was really eager to drive. I haven't driven in months, and get back out into the world and work out and, throw myself into all of these things. And then this happened. So while, of course, I can still drive and it's still exciting, even though there's nowhere to really go to, things like the gym. I wasn't medically cleared before the gyms all closed down, so I never got to go back. I hadn't been there since maybe in between surgeries, so like middle of February. But I've been thinking a lot about my life as a migraine patient when it was at its worst, and how that really prepared me in more ways than I can count now. So my life as a really sick, chronically ill person about 10 years ago, when I was missing 200 some odd days of work and really suffering through the fear and the panic, of all the things that my migraine illness taught me. I really believe it taught me the true meaning of compassion. I really believe it made me emotionally stronger. It really enhanced personality traits that I already had. And of all the things that I've ever been grateful for that my migraine disease taught me, I think how to be comfortable at home is probably the most important. And I can see that in a time like this. So, that hashtag alone together, you see, and I see commercials for it, and, it's all over social media. Let's pause here and first say, why do I have a commercial that we need to stay home? Because if I'm already home watching the commercial, then I don't need to see it because I'm already doing what I'm supposed to. And if I'm out, I'm not going to see the commercial, so I don't know I should stay home, and it just drives me out of my mind. Anyway, back in the day, I spent many years at home. And I was alone and in severe, severe agony. That every breath, every blinking of my eye, everything felt like it took an eternity. It was excruciating. So my home wasn't really a safe place for me. It wasn't, of course, the home that was making me sick, and there was no place better for me to be. But it wasn't helping. It wasn't comforting. I wasn't finding solace in my home because I couldn't stand to be in my skin. So it was just an existence of just existing. There was no life in it, I always really hated being home alone when I was at the height of pain points, and there were a lot of them. The reality is that, of course, people have to go to work, and every time I felt sick was pretty much every day, all day. So there wasn't somebody that could stay with me like that. And eventually I would muster up the strength to go to the bathroom to get my pills. I tried to set up as best I could and leave, if I was in bed, a drink, a cereal bar, yogurt, tea, meds, whatever, my lifeline sort of close to me. And when I would meager down the stairs to come to the living room, I would take every strength and fiber of my being, but I would do the same thing. I would quickly make tea. I would quickly do things and make a setup here for me, so that I could just be in one place and all of my things. And whatever I forgot or couldn't get to, I had to wait till somebody could get it for me. The thing about that teaches you day in and day out is that you can survive it alone. You can do it alone, even if it's not pleasant. And you, I guess if you're lucky, have a personality that can adapt to it, right? I've always really been this person. I'm 38, but I feel like I was like this at 6 to some extent. I feel like I was always an old soul, like I was always emotionally mature and strong and able to give emotionally to others, even if I had to put that on hold for myself. You know, I'm really good under pressure, emotional pressure. And I think that just grew in terms of strength through my migraine experience and the other life-changing things that have happened, that I've experienced, that I've been a part of, that I've seen happen to other people, really taught me. And so now that we were going to be on pause, you know, everybody was freaking out. And I'm not going to pretend that I wasn't terrified and not still terrified on a daily basis for moments, you know, that I have to wear a mask every time I leave my house to go for a walk, that going to the store, it becomes a mission impossible act, that I have to wipe everything down with caution when I come back, that I'm stripping my clothes because I'm afraid of, you know, contaminants and all this other kind of stuff, you know, trying to be extra cautious and take it super serious, but also not go right over the deep end with it, right? Because it's so easy to do, you know, and if you watch enough TV or social media, the panic that can mount, I really feel like the media makes it worse. Not that it's not serious, not that we need to do the things, but they're trying to grab your attention. And I feel like the fear is palpable in the air and it's contagious. And that whole my psychology thing, I feel it in the air. Then, you know, you go outside and there are hordes of people still gathering together without masks, socializing like, you know, it's 2019. And while I want to party like it's 1999, it's most certainly not. And it's for those people that will all have to suffer the consequences and stay in this paused state for a longer period of time. That being said, in some ways, not only was I emotionally prepared to be home, but I feel like I'm emotionally maybe thriving. Now, our last video, we talked about the fear of my retina detaching and the complications from surgery. At this point, we're about 2.5 weeks since I filmed that video, and about closer to 3 weeks since I had my last eye doctor appointment. Right now, I still have a little floater in my right eye. He comes and goes. He's very faint. About a week ago, I was having some floaters in my left eye. They seem to have dissipated. I feel like my fear has calmed down about that, because, of course, my fear of something happening to my eye, needing more eye surgery, was scary enough. But in this situation of having to get hold of a doctor and what that would entail, and having to be around people, maybe go to another ambulatory center or, God forbid, a hospital, like, it just brings out all of those extra terrors that we don't need. Actually, what really calmed me down, besides, I knew it would be time. I knew it would be a day basis. Like, you know, for me, I'm a kind of person that really lives in precedence. You know, once I see something, whether it's a mouse in the house. I saw 4 years ago once a mouse in the house. And every time I look in the corner where I saw him, I expect to see him. He's not there. He's dead. He's gone. But it takes a long time to get used to the fact that it might not happen again. And that's kind of how I felt about the flashes of light and the floater and stuff like that. I knew it would take time. And I feel like as each day passes and nothing happens, I know it's not to say it can't happen, but I'm living more comfortably with that it will not happen. My best friend in Arizona has a very similar eye condition, and I guess it really is with age, even though I feel like we're young for this, and she didn't have cataract surgery. So something about that normalized it for me. You know, it just made me feel like, okay, it can really happen to anyone. There's not a black cloud hanging over my life. And it's an odd connection, but I feel the same way about the pandemic. There is something about knowing that we're all home, that nobody's going to work, that we're all afraid to go to the grocery store, that we're all missing our loved ones, that we're all bored at times, because I am bored. Being emotionally okay with being home alone doesn't mean that you're not bored at sometimes or lazy. But it's a different kind of peace, because now I'm not home alone. There are days that I wish I was. A lot of days that I wish I was, because I'm a person that's very good at being alone. I've taken myself to the theater alone. I've gone to dinner alone. I've traveled alone. I've done everything I can think alone. And so it's a two-way street, right? But in light of not being in that god-awful pain and not really fearing from my eyes, I have to say that there is this happiness, and I feel bad to say it that way because I don't want to shame other people that aren't doing so great. You know, we all have our routines, and because I work from home now anyway, my routine hasn't really changed that much. You know, I'm used to it. I'm used to having the ebb and flow of what I want to do. And if anything, now, because my eyesight is fixed and I'm not living in constant pain, as my migraines are, I'm going to use the word in remission. It's not technically the word. I still get them, but they're manageable now. I'm a year off my daily preventative medication, which feels like a miracle and an eternity at the same time. I'm just doing Botox. I went last week, and I feel really thankful and blessed that my doctor is well and was willing to give me the Botox, because I realized that for a lot of people it might not be medical necessary, but she acknowledged that it was, and that I'm grateful for. I'm grateful that it's in there and working, because the weather here has been really rainy and crappy, and that can really affect my migraines. So now that I'm not in a place where I can't, now that I'm in a place where I can see, where I can function and thrive, emotionally I'm doing excellent. And I'm trying not to brag, and I'm just trying to really maybe give you guys some pointers. I mean, maybe I'm not the best person, but this is what I've learned. For me, I've got stacks and stacks of things that I'm trying to read and catch up on. And each day is a new experience for me. I mean, I guess I'm living in my post-cataract surgery success bliss. And that's the place I like to be. I like that I have a stack of New York Times, and it turns out I'm an all or nothing girl. Either I want to cook 95 things from scratch in a day, or I want to do nothing. I also, too, want to read 400 pages of newspaper or nothing at all. So I like to stave them up. I like to pull my sections out, put my glasses on, because that's what it takes now, but that's fine. And just enjoy it. I am very easily able to enjoy things. I am very productive on days, and other days I fall down the Real Housewives rabbit hole and want nothing more but to lay on the couch and watch old seasons and just watch the melodrama. I've been very blessed during this pandemic, because I feel like my immediate family has not been touched by this. But I will tell you some of the things that I really miss. What I really miss is my very large, crazy, extended Italian family. You know, if I had a nickel for every time I said the word cousin, I mean, you would be wealthy as well. I know I've mentioned all of my cousins. Because for us, it's not a fourth cousin, fifth cousin. They're all my cousin. They're all my people, my tribe. And I really draw my strength from them. And I miss them like crazy. And I that's a little unexpected for me. I didn't realize how much I would miss seeing people, or the privilege that it turned out to really be, to get to be with people that you love without having to worry about contaminating them or visiting them. If you saw my Instagram last week, I did what I called a roll run. So I live in Brooklyn. It is the bread capital of the world. My family, of all walks of life, but especially in Long Island, live for these Brooklyn rolls, as they've been dubbed. They're just bakery rolls. I don't particularly even like them, and I know people that I'm related to that will watch this will freak, but I don't. Maybe it's because I can get them anytime I want. But I my mother and I decided that we couldn't sit in this house anymore, and we wanted to get some fresh air. It was finally nice out. I wanted to drive. Um, and so we pre-ordered 5 dozen rolls and decided to drive them to a handful of people in Long Island. I have a ton of relatives out there, so some people did get missed. Um, but just the people that really were going through a hard time and I thought could use a little joy and a little cheer. So I was ringing and running. I would masked, gloved, the whole bit with my phone in hand to take photos, and was just ring the doorbell, leave the rolls on the doorstep, and then, go back into the driveway so I wasn't near anybody. And most people stayed behind their screen door, so it was fine. But I got to see some of my little cousins, and as hard as it was not to want to bite and squish them, it was nice to see the surprise on everybody's face and to feel that love and connectivity. I'm blessed because I feel that with my family, even when we're not physically together, and while I miss them like crazy, and the parties and the celebrations and the things that we were going to experience together are on pause as well, I feel like our communication has never been better. We're all very busy in our lives, and I'm sure maybe you experience this with your friends too now, right? Like, I'm not doing the Zoom thing because I just can't be bothered, but I'm calling, I'm texting. Like, I feel like I've had more real contact with people, not just following their IG stories, in the last month or so than I've had in years, especially when I was home suffering alone because I couldn't be on my phone because of the vision and the pain and the whatever. And people weren't checking on you, right? When everyone is going through something, that's when it occurs to you to check on other people. And that's what I feel like. I feel like I've really had emotional contact with people, and that I'm grateful for because people are slowed down now, right? We have time for that, even though you're busy with your kids and homeschooling and working from home, whatever it is that you're doing while you're going through this time, you have time for contact, and that's really been a blessing. That's not to say that people that I love haven't gone through hard things. There was a death in my family. Extended family member passed away. And while I wasn't super close to this person, not being able to do what my family does best at times, at hard times, is difficult for all of us. I always joke that my family does death really well. And like all good jokes, there's a lot of truth in it. Because love is an action word for us. My friend Christian gave me that term the other day, and that's exactly what it is. For us, love is action. Me especially, I am terrible when I feel like I need to be there for somebody or something's happening and I can't do anything. I'm not a person that can handle sitting on my hands emotionally when I feel like people need me or I could do something. It's hard to sit with those feelings. And so not to be able to be comforting or to have a funeral or to do all those things, it'll come, in time, but it's just hard not to be able to be there for people. I have a cousin that's sick right now, and while we're all praying super hard and keeping in touch and doing all the things, aside from rolls, there wasn't really anything I could do, and I still couldn't scoop them up and love on them physically. But loving on people emotionally is more important, even though for me, I like the physical act of it. I need I want someone to feel my love, if that makes sense. And so what I've really found during this pandemic is that you have to check on people, right? And that's something that a lot of people say, but what does it really mean? Because I'm not a person that easily goes down the emotional rabbit hole, it might be hard for me to understand. But for me, what has always helped me, even when I was in bad pain, when I was able to, and even when times are tough, is I always feel better calling somebody else. I call my aunts and uncles. I call a cousin that I haven't talked to on the phone in a really long time. To make that contact, to get out of yourself, out of your head, as it were. I find that that's really good advice. To enjoy the quiet moments of reading and watching TV and relaxing, that's all really well and good. Even though you have to wear protective gear to go outside, to still do it and make time, and I've been bad about that. I have to be more proactive. For me, being home in my kitchen cooking has always been a thrill, and now I feel like that's trendy because everybody's home and they're cooking and they're looking for their pantry items. And so while I've been a little less productive than I should be, I've been hibernating, I'm going to make more of an effort to really be working, and getting my butt in gear. After all, that cookbook isn't going to type itself up. But savoring those moments that are going to be coming, because eventually the world will open up again. What it will look like, what it will feel like, I don't know. But I was always a person that took precautions in terms of cleanliness and sanitariness. That's a word. And I long for the days where I could fly to California and just go visit my brother or have him come home, and for us to travel together. And I'm trying to live in those moments of planning and bringing it to realization, because whatever our new normal will be as it comes in phases, I don't want us to take that for granted anymore. I think a lot of people do. I did too, but because I knew what it was like to be home alone and suffering, to be home alone together is really a blessing. And so I hope that you're taking really good care of yourselves and trying not to berate yourself when you feel down just to feel down, but to try to do things that elevate your spirit and reconnect with people and be honest how you're feeling. I've always found that, obviously, that sharing really, really, really helps. So I hope that you all are well, and that very soon we can talk about how this was just a crazy, crazy time in our lives. And when our kids learn about it in history, we can reflect on some of the memories that we made. So go be productive, be healthy and safe, and I'll see you next time.